Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Landon Swan, co-founder at Likefolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thanks. Great to be here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. So Tesla stock, it's been outperforming the other Mag 7 names. It's actually the only one positive so far this month in September. Is this all based on maybe that robotaxi event that's coming in early October? Because, you know, China numbers were okay, but it still seems like EVs are out of favor at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the China numbers. Yeah, the EV sales are up about 37%, which is, you know, obviously pretty strong. And they're also rolling out full self-driving to China and Europe, pending regulatory approval within the next year or so. But yeah, this stock, I think, has been fairly disappointing to investors. I mean, if you look at like a 3-year chart, you know, 3 years ago, this was basically a $250 stock. Now we're, what, 215, 220, somewhere in there. So, you know, not a lot of upside over the last 3 years. But it's been doing better recently, like you talked about. And I think a lot of that has to do with the optimism around the more of the you know, the robotaxi, and then also the robot itself, the Optimus robot. So investors are kind of asking themselves, you know, what is the valuation of Tesla, the car company? And I think that that's kind of what's been dragging it down over the last 3 years. It's, you know, it's strong. Obviously, it's a huge innovator. It's the leader in EVs. It is EVs right now in the United States and in the world. And of course, it's the self-driving leader. But how much growth is there in a car company, right? And so that's the question. But then when you start talking about the robotics side of it, not only the robotaxi, but also Optimus, then you start really thinking about some upside. Now you're talking about really revolutionizing economies and countries. And so I think that's what's getting people excited. And I really, you know, I'm a big believer in the company, Elon Musk as well, and just the vision and execution that they've been able to do. So when you look at them from the car side of things, they are clearly the self-driving leader. I mean, when you look at, for example, you know, Waymo, they're out there collecting data. You see those cars driving around with the funny cameras all over them, and they look real wild. They're self-driving. Tesla's collecting about 66 times as much data as that company because they've got 6 million people out there driving for them, basically. Really good, you know, really strong model there. And then, of course, they're the unequivocal consumer attention leader. I mean, when you look at people talking about or even just visiting the websites of car companies, Tesla is far and above at the top. And then you've got, you know, Toyota and Ford on there that are way, way below. We couldn't even put GM on this chart because they, you know, they barely fit on the y-axis. They're so low. Rivian, forget about it. So it's incredible how much mind share Tesla takes up. And then it's just a question again, is it a robotics company or is it a car company? And, you know, I like them as a car company, but I'm extremely bullish long term as a robotics company.
Landon, I think you're onto something here. I think the days of looking at Tesla as a EV car company are like the days of looking at Apple as a computer company and Amazon as a book company and Facebook, you know, as for just Facebook. All these companies evolve over year, and I think right in front of our eyes, Tesla is starting to evolve into an AI company and an energy company and other things that are going to move them away where EVs aren't going to be the biggest percentage of their earnings. I mean, just the fact that energy, the mega packs, have gone from $1.5 billion in revenue in quarter two of 23 to $3 billion in revenue in quarter two of 24. So all these other parts of Tesla are what investors really should be looking at if you're thinking about growth. Elon Musk came out and said Shanghai, they're running at full capacity. But the EV theme for Tesla is something that shouldn't be, it may be weighing it down in terms of all the other things this company's doing. Landon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's kind of the difference between, you know, the current investor now and what people are going to be investing in the future. And you got to be able to put yourself in that mindset of what's going forward, because, you know, if you think about the two areas of robotics that they're getting into. They are going to change things dramatically. So think about, first of all, the robotaxis. I mean, they've got the event coming out in a month, so we'll see. That that could be a big boom. It could flop. Who knows? But the technology is moving in the right direction. That could actually turn car ownership into a plus ROI thing, right? In millions of years, or exaggeration, in hundreds of years, no one has ever owned a car as an investment, right? It's always gone down. The moment you drive it off the lot, it's worth 10, 20% less. Now you could actually own an asset that's out there collecting revenue for you. That's never been considered before, and this could really change things. And then you've got the Optimus robot, which, in 5, 10, 15 years from now, everyone could have one of these in their homes for, $50,000 or $100,000, and it cooks, cleans, does all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is like really economy revolutionizing type stuff. And you have to, there's competition in all the spaces, but look at what EV was before Tesla came in and say, okay, this is the company that clearly can execute. Clearly, they can go from 0 to 100 and surpass everyone else, put them just in the rearview mirror, and be the dominant leader in electric vehicles. Now with full self-driving, they're showing that capability as well. So do you want to bet on this company or someone else? So I think, frankly, that the robotaxi is going to be huge in the short term. That's going to be the next catalyst. But I really believe the Optimus robot is going to be unbelievable over the next decade for this company. And they have a lot of competition. There's several companies trying to compete with them. But again, you look at execution, who's proven that they can do it, can build a self-driving electric vehicle that has better, acceleration and handling and performance capabilities than any other combustion engine, as well as being able to drive on its own. I mean, the execution is there. So for me, this is a very strong long-term bet. And, we often talk about, is it a binary bet? In other words, it either goes to 1 million or 0, right? It's either full success or full failure. I think that there's a lot of in between for Tesla. I think that they can get there slowly, and it's not just like, well, if this robotaxi event doesn't do well, then this company's a flop. I don't think that's anywhere near the case, because they've got the auto side as the sort of core, and they can continue to build on that. So long term, if you can't tell, I'm extremely bullish for Tesla. I own shares. That's a disclaimer, and I think a lot of people should. It's a very strong company, and I love where they might be revolutionizing things in the next decade or so.
And by the way, one last thing. I stood at a tailgate on Saturday watching college football in the back of an SUV. You know how? With crystal clear pictures. Starlink on top of the car. Unbelievable how clear it was.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the innovation, and he's a visionary. He does everything well, but then there's flops out there. The Boring Company made a bunch of promises there. The solar panel roof tiles, we still haven't heard much from that. So there are flops in there, but is that part of the risk here, Landon, when you guys talk about Tesla and the outlook for this company? There's still things in the way, and then you got him talking on X all the time, and that's actually caused quite of a backlash. Maybe why he's not selling as many cars as he used to, because some people are out there saying, I'm not buying a Tesla because he doesn't agree with what I agree with.
Right. I mean, that, I think you take the good with the bad with Musk. I mean, that's just who he is. He's going to push. He's a visionary. He's going to put it out there. And maybe, if you had a CEO handbook, one of the first chapters would be don't get into politics publicly, because you don't want your company to be associated with politics. We talk about that all the time, and we saw what happened with Target, Bud Light, Starbucks, you name it. It can go the wrong way quickly. So you don't want to polarize your audience, of course. But at the end of the day, if you produce the best product and it's leaps and bounds above the next one, I think that's the difference. Then people are going to flock over. You can find another beer. You can go to a different coffee shop. You can go to Walmart instead of Target. But if they have the only real robotaxi, the only real self-driving car, the only real, a personal assistant robot in your home, you're going to put your politics aside. So yes, he does make a lot of promises, and he fulfills some of them, and I think that's just, the nature of the beast. You got to take the good with the bad, but based on what they and he have been able to do so far, I'm willing to bet on the future.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be around for a full Jetsons house built by Elon Musk and Tesla, but I hope I am, because it sounds pretty amazing. All right, great stuff and great data as always, Landon. Appreciate it.